In this video, I'm gonna be joined by a panel of Amazon sellers from the Jungle Scout team. We're gonna be sharing product research tips, lessons learned from 2020, and most importantly, what you should be thinking about as a seller going into 2021. Let's do it. Hi guys, I'm Lenny, and today I'm joined by a bunch of sellers from the Jungle Scout team. We have Jenna, Rolando, Brian, Carly, and Joe. Thanks for joining, guys. Now, what we're gonna be covering today is a roundtable discussion looking back at 2020, and then what you can apply to 2021 moving forward. Of course, in celebration of Black Friday, we wanted to join in on the fun. So here at Jungle Scout, we're offering an exclusive Black Friday special on our entire suite of tools, which I'm excited to share with you. We're gonna be talking about our favorite Jungle Scout tools and why we use each. And then we're gonna dive into a Q&A and answer your top questions. Now, if you're thinking about selling on Amazon, then now is the right time to start. There's a lot of emphasis put on getting started before the Q4 holiday season, but while you may not be able to take advantage of the high sales in Q4 this year, if you're just starting right now, it's important that you get started now if you're interested in this opportunity, because it does take time to find a product, get it made, and get it into Amazon. And the reason that you have to start now is because in February each year, there's the Chinese New Year, which basically shuts down manufacturing in China for several weeks. So you need to find your product and get it produced and shipped out of China before that time. And while that sounds like a lot, don't worry, Jungle Scout is here to help. Our Black Friday special makes it the perfect time to get our suite of tools, which includes world-class education, which will teach you the process of selling step by step. So it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Now, we'll get to what's included within Jungle Scout, but first let's kick off our roundtable discussion. And the first question that I'd like to pose to everyone is, how did everyone find their first product?
It all started when I was bedridden, and I was looking for an opportunity. And ultimately, while I was bedridden, I had access to the internet, and I just did a search, a Google search of, what type of businesses can I run online, and there were several opportunities that appeared, but the one that really stuck out to me was Amazon. It was definitely a game-changing company. So the curiosity struck me, and then I just went down that path. I happened to come across some earlier videos of Greg launching the bamboo sticks, the marshmallow bamboo sticks, and I just followed along. And through that process, that's how I ended up launching my first product.
I'm a very similar story, Rolando. I wasn't bedridden, luckily, but I was job-ridden, I guess you could say. I was working my first job out of school, not having a good time, slaving away. Was really just looking for an alternative income source. I remember having lunch with one of my friends one day, and he was like, dude, have you heard about selling on Amazon? I've got a friend doing this, and he's making around like $3,000 a month. Which is definitely like an entry-level salary straight out of school. And I was just like, no, I haven't heard of that. Let me check it out. So binging into YouTube, I remember watching Lenny and Greg, absolutely, and purchasing the Jungle Scout extension. This was back in probably literally about 3 years ago from this day. It was around Thanksgiving 2017. And I used Jungle Scout to find this product is an AirPod case, or case for Apple's AirPods. They were just coming out at the time. So they were super cheap to just buy in bulk from China and sell. And it was a great start to selling on Amazon. I learned a lot. I eventually pulled out and stopped selling that product and launched other ones as well. But I wouldn't be here with the Jungle Scout team and all these other sellers if it wasn't for stumbling across it really on YouTube and just a casual lunch conversation a few years ago.
I think my journey started out similarly to a lot of other people's, just searching online how to make money, and I just went for it. So my first product was camera lens mugs, and I sold them as a 2-pack. There was a black cup and a white cup, sold them as a 2-pack, and that's what led me to where I am today.
My very first product was an electronics product because I'm a videographer, photographer, and so I really wanted to sell a product in that niche. And long story short, it ended up doing quite well for a while, but Then I had like faulty parts and I had like a whole shipment that was getting all these negative reviews. And so finally I ended up kind of killing that product because I was just getting too many negative reviews, as well as the fact that I was getting very, very small profits. So the takeaways that I got from that are like, I don't want to sell electronic products anymore. And the other one is to the importance of having a really strong profit margin, because even when it was selling well, the profit margin was pretty slim. So then over time, as the components got more expensive and the competition grew, those already small profits got smaller and smaller. So it was a good first product experience, but I made some mistakes and learned a lot from that. Next up, I think it'd be cool to hear from you, Jenna, because I think you've got an interesting first product story.
Yeah, so I was actually working at Jungle Scout when I started doing product research. This was before the times of Opportunity Finder. Now that's definitely my tool of choice, but I used Product Database to find my first product.
Awesome. Well, there's a Jungle Scout success story right there. The next question that I'd like us to discuss is, what is one product research mistake that you've made along the way? Do you want to kick us off, Rolando?
I think what happened was I just didn't dig enough. I didn't really do enough research in terms of the competition. So I had this amazing product idea. I launched it. And it was a huge success. I was selling like crazy, but there was one problem. I got a cease and desist by one of the competitors. And at that time, I was so new. I was really scared. I was frightened. I didn't know what I had done. So I would say that I would chalk it up to not doing enough digging and really looking at the competitors and seeing if it is a patented product. I ended up rectifying and just pivoting. But yeah, that would be the biggest blunder. Because here I was stuck. Eventually, luckily I sold through most of the items. I only got stuck with 100 units that remained and just quickly pivoted. Product was so profitable that I was able to kind of reinvest it into the next launch. So make sure you do your patent research, all that good stuff.
That's a good one. What about you, Joe? Any product research mistakes in your time?
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely made quite a few mistakes, but through every mistake, you learn something and you iterate and make better choices and decisions the next time. So I would say there's kind of two major things. One would be not using data enough. And what I mean by that is, of course, looking at the sales, the competition, measuring the demand and for a product. But also, one mistake was not looking at historical data. So I ended up launching a product that turned out to be very seasonal and only sell well for a few months out of the year. So that's where, using Jungle Scout can definitely help to look at that historical data and you see the trend of a product over a long period of time and not just the last 30 or 60 days. And then on the other side of that coin, I think a product research mistake could be relying too much on the data. And what I mean by that is you can find a product where the data looks great, right? Demand is high, competition is low, but you don't use that other sort of more marketing and creative driven side of the decision-making process. And that's what I really love is, you could find a great niche and launch a product, but if your copy and images and customer experience is terrible, then it's not going to be a successful launch. So not only just finding products where the data lines up, but also finding something where you can get excited and say, okay, this is where the competition is failing and lacking. And now I'm going to come in and this is how I can do it a lot better.
Improving your product is definitely a good tip, particularly as it gets more and more competitive on Amazon. All right, so I've teased Jungle Scout's Black Friday special, so let's take a short break to learn a little more about that one. Selling on Amazon can quickly go the way of the best intentioned New Year's resolution, i.e. a strong enthusiastic start that quickly turns to a discarded and forgotten idea. So why is that? Well, simply put, there's quite a few steps involved with successfully selling on Amazon, and few software tools out there have the resources to help you build a solid and grounded business that's gonna last past February. Right now, Jungle Scout, the leading all-in-one platform for selling on Amazon, is clearing away the hurdles and the ambiguity, making it not just easier to get started, but actually succeeding in the long run, a reality for more than 400,000 sellers, and you can be one of them. With Jungle Scout, you'll find product opportunities based off of high demand and low competition keywords, then calculate your product's profitability to see if it's the right fit for you. You'll easily identify and vet top manufacturers from around the world, then turn your attention to crafting a high converting listing that will get in front of customers from day one. You'll use Jungle Scout to get more reviews and boost your early product sales with promotional campaigns. You'll effectively manage your sales, costs, and inventory, and track changes to your competitors' listings or your own. Now, for a limited time, you can save more than $200 on any purchase of Jungle Scout. Included with every purchase, you'll also receive a How to Sell on Amazon PDF, our proprietary Getting Started checklist, and unlimited onboarding and training that you can take advantage of all year round. And if you're truly looking for the most in-depth and step-by-step education that's out there, you can currently save more than $1,650 when you purchase our Freedom Builder Bootcamp bundle, which comes with a 1-year subscription to Jungle Scout, as well as more than 30 hours of step-by-step video content, monthly live coaching calls, and an active community to encourage you every step of the way. So what sets Jungle Scout apart from the competition? Besides having the highest data accuracy, our customers tell us we have the simplest and most easy to use interface, as well as the most comprehensive education available. Jungle Scout is your ticket to Amazon success. Our platform has everything you need to get started, grow, and manage your business. And what a better time to start than right now in order to prepare for the new year. So hurry, deals are only around for a limited time. The special link for that offer is in the description below. So if you want to check out any of those deals for yourself, then jump into the description to get that one. So we wanted to go a little bit further in depth into what is included in this in the package, or what you actually get when you purchase Jungle Scout. So we're all going to go through and share kind of our favorite tools when it comes to using Jungle Scout. So starting out with product research, one of my favorite tools is the Jungle Scout extension. Now, another quick thing, if you've been following us on YouTube for a while, then you've likely seen the $1 Million Case Study, which we just recently launched. If you've watched those first 2 episodes, you'll see myself using the extension quite a bit throughout that for product research. It's a really great companion tool to the product database and opportunity finder and all the other great tools that we have for product research. The way that the extension works is it runs live on Amazon. You can just, if an idea comes to mind, like, oh, I want to do, Christmas sweaters sell or kangaroo ones, you can just jump into Amazon, type that keyword in and run the extension, and you instantly get a snapshot of how well that product sells. So you use that in combination with things like the product database and keyword scout, and combining all of this information, you've got a really robust product research tool right there. So that's definitely one of my favorite tools, is the Jungle Scout extension. But now I wanted to hand it over to Joe to see if you'd like to tell us about your favorite Jungle Scout tool.
Every time I go to source a product and I'm browsing Alibaba and they're telling me there's literally tens of thousands of manufacturers or suppliers that will make my product, I definitely get a little nervous, right? There's not a lot of trust just right out of the gate looking on Alibaba. So it definitely does take, reaching out to these suppliers and talking to them. But that's why I love the supplier database. I think it's not really a replacement for Alibaba, but it's a great way to use together with Alibaba, supplier searches. So they can really just vet and validate that they are who they say they are, how many times they've shipped to the US, finding other brands and companies that they work with, and can be a really powerful tool for like a reverse search. And what I mean by that is, instead of saying like, I want to go make a backpack, you could say, what's a really high quality brand that manufactures this product? Search for them on supplier database and then find their supplier. So that really just cuts out hours of browsing Alibaba and talking to all these different suppliers when you can just go straight to a really, really great, high quality one that you can trust. And I remember when we launched the tool back at the Prosper show in 2018, and one reaction really stood out to me a lot. This guy came up to our booth and, said he heard about Supplier Database in one of the talks and wanted a live demo of it. And he was an Amazon seller. He was probably a 7 or 8 figure seller. And he pulled up his company and he was like, yeah, that's my supplier. And then he's like, well, let me pull up my competition. So then he pulls up his competition and he found out that they were using the exact same supplier he was. And he was like not happy at all when he found that. But then he dove a little deeper into that supplier records and was able to find out that he was around like 70% of his supplier's total exports, and then leverage that information to go back to a supplier and say, you need to stop working with my competitors, and having that like data backbone to back up his claim. And because they're reliant on so much of his business, they were able to, kind of cut out and stop working with other people. And it really just like solidified his relationship with that supplier and his product. So I thought that was like a really cool creative use of the database.
Thanks, Joe. Supplier database is awesome. It actually helped me recently find a new supplier who I've actually started working with. So totally agree. All right, Rolando, over to you. Would you like to share your favorite tool?
I think that they all go hand in hand, right? Like, that's the beauty of an all-in-one platform, is that one builds on the other. Because you go through your product research, you need to find a supplier to source that product from. But of course, along with that, my favorite tool is the keyword tool. It's basically one of the things that I've really spent a lot of time on is really analyzing which keywords are going to be the most effective from the perspective of what are my competitors using. I want to be able to like spy on the competition, what keywords they're using, to the point of course, what do I want to feed Amazon's A9 algorithm to ensure that my product is able to be found. So I find the keyword tool to be amazing in that also now we have listing builder where you can go in and just start plugging in your title, your bullet points. It gives you the number count if you're gone over, or if you still have remaining characters. And to me, it's just amazing what the keyword tool can do. In addition to that, being able to build out PPC campaigns from day one, because a lot of times it's just we've eliminated the guesswork. We've been able to structure it in a way that we have all the data that you need to be able to do like a reverse ASIN search on a competitor, find their top keywords, and start running some PPC campaigns with that. I'm all about PPC, so it's been amazing what you can do with the keyword tool.
That's definitely a good one, Rolando. How about you, Carly? What's your favorite tool?
I'm going to go with Sales Analytics and Inventory Manager because I'm all about the numbers. So it's really easy to generate revenue. It's not as easy to generate profit. And that's what we're here for. So to know your true profits, you have to have somewhere where you can track all that stuff. And Seller Central is great to know how much you sold or what your inventory is. But you don't get to put in things like your cost or your shipping time or your lead time. And I like having everything in one place. So it's nice that I can look at my sales figures and my inventory figures, and right there with all the other tools with product research and supplier database, I can kind of like just stay in one place and do everything that I need to do instead of jumping around. And yeah, I just love to analyze the numbers on what's selling well, what's making me money, and let me reorder those things and keep on top of my inventory. So yeah, Sales Analytics and Inventory Manager, I think they go hand in hand. So I'm gonna pick both.
Yeah, I totally agree, Carly. Whilst they're not talked about quite as much, I do think Sales Analytics and Inventory Management are incredibly powerful tools to help you manage and grow your business. All right, finally onto Brian, over to you. What's one of your favorite Jungle Scout tools?
Yeah, definitely. So one of my favorite features about Jungle Scout is the Jungle Scout Market, and it's where you could find the best Amazon freelancers all in one place. So anything that you need done regarding selling on Amazon, whether it's listing optimization or advertising management, you can find them all on the marketplace. There's a freelancer for basically everything. So when you're running your Amazon business, whether you're a beginner or an expert, there's always going to be something that you either don't have time for, that you don't know how to do, or you just don't want to do. So you can sign on to the Jungle Scout Market and find a freelancer for anything that you need help with. That's the best part about selling on Amazon now is there's always going to be someone who knows a little more than you, and it's best to hire somebody who's an expert in that topic. For instance, if you don't know how to take good pictures or you don't have a good camera, it's really important to hire a professional photographer and graphic designer to really handle all of that for you, because that is one of the most important aspects of your listing.
Awesome. So now I'd like to switch gears and hear from everyone. What's your biggest lesson learned from 2020? It's certainly been a crazy year, and there's been a lot of changes in e-commerce and on Amazon. So do you want to kick us off, Carly?
So as soon as COVID started, I thought my business was over. I thought people wouldn't have any money to spend anymore on Amazon. And that was true for maybe a couple of weeks. It took a dip and then it skyrocketed. And now I have new problems and I can't keep up with the demand. So yeah, just that I'm not going to be able to predict the future. So I just have to roll with whatever happens and just make the most of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. And I think 2020 has really made that lesson hit home for everyone, that you really can't predict the future. And if that was true before, then it certainly is now. Next up, I'd like to hear from you, Rolando, because I know working in the Freedom Builder Bootcamp, you work with a lot of sellers, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of trends. So, Rolando, what would you say is your biggest lesson learned from 2020?
I think the biggest lesson is just play by the rules and play nice with Amazon. It kind of ties in with COVID. They're constantly making changes, adjustments, and just being able to be like nimble on your feet and understand, for every problem, there's a solution. I think a lot of times we tend to just get so caught up in the moment that we don't realize that every single problem has a solution. So taking the time to really, maybe write it down and see alternative fashions and do creative things. With, for example, we had the 200 unit limit that was put in place as soon as this pandemic hit, because Amazon's just trying to keep up with right now with the demand. And our students, as well as all Amazon sellers, had to adapt quickly. And so I think that just being able to adapt quickly and play nice with Amazon is going to you'll always win if you follow that.
That's definitely a good one too, Rolando. How about you, Joe? I know that you also talk with a lot of Amazon sellers. I'm curious what your biggest takeaway from 2020 is.
I think what 2020 has taught us is that we can't put all our marbles in the one basket that is Amazon. And as you're growing your business and expanding your brand, it's, I think, more and more important to leverage other channels. So whether that's Facebook and Instagram and media buying, or Google and pushing external traffic to your Amazon listings to help you increase your organic rank on Amazon, or looking at other channels like Shopify or general e-commerce, where maybe you can own more of that direct supply chain, so you're not waiting or losing sales when your product's sitting at Amazon store. And I know a lot of that is, of course, pretty much all of it is COVID related as well. And this has definitely improved over time. And I'm definitely not like blaming Amazon, Jeff Bezos, if you're watching. I think Amazon's done a great job with all the issues and the traffic and the shipping delays. But, I think for me and other sellers too, I've heard a lot of like horror stories where their revenue stream has been directly stopped through this. And I think that's where investing in your business and growing in other channels is really important.
What about you, Brian? What's your biggest takeaway from 2020?
My biggest takeaway is that things can change in a blink of an eye. And like Rolando was saying, you have to learn how to adapt, because anything can happen with your business. Your Amazon business can be running smoothly. Your sales are going well, advertising is going well, and things can change tomorrow. Whether it's, a huge pandemic or Amazon changes their terms of service that kind of screws your business up a little bit. So basically you just, have to learn how to adapt and expect the unexpected, basically. Not everything is going to go the way you plan. Not everything is going to go the way you want. So just keep an eye out for different things that may happen and just power through them.
Yeah, definitely starting to see a trend here with like learning to adapt. But I'm curious, Jenna, what your thoughts are, if you've seen anything different.
Yeah, well, I think we can hate on 2020 all we want, but this year's given us all, I think, so much insight on what's important to us and how important it is to have that, not only just a side hustle, but a hobby, something to always be learning and evolving in and just enhancing ourselves in every aspect.
I like it. And in a moment, we're going to be taking your questions. So if you do have any questions, start dropping them in the chat box below, and we will get to answering those in just a moment. But to wrap up our little discussion here, we've talked about 2020 and our lessons learned, but now I'd like to hear from everyone, what are you going to start doing differently in 2021? Maybe it's something you've already been doing. Maybe it's something that you're going to start doing
as a result of your lessons learned this year. So let's kick it off with Rolando. What would you say you would start doing differently?
I think it's going to be more on a personal development side. Not so much on the business side of things, because Jenna brought up a good point that 2020 has taught us a lot of lessons that you have to have a balanced life. And so for me personally, it's going to be more diving into understanding, how to create traffic and traffic that converts. I have some background in that, and it'd just be interesting to learn more. So it's always good to apply, to learn more, and it's just only going to help your business more. So it's going to be more on the personal side that I'll be growing and developing, and in turn, it'll help my business.
My goal is going to be the same one as it was this year, but I didn't deliver on it. I'm going to try a higher priced point item. I've kind of stayed in the safe range, and I just want to see what happens and test something that's in a higher price point.
One thing that I definitely want to explore more, I'd like to try out the sponsored brand video ads. I'm obviously a big fan of video, and so I suspect, and I know I was like talking to Brian about this, but I kind of suspect there'll be more video features that perhaps get rolled out. I don't know exactly what they'll look like, or at least video will perhaps get more visibility on Amazon as we can kind of see it exploding everywhere else on the internet, and we can see that usage go up. So I suspect that video will become more important, and so I definitely would like to try doing more video ads, trying to create more creative videos for my listings and so on. So that's kind of what I'm going to do differently or more of coming into 2021.
I definitely want to double down on everything that everyone said here, personal goals, mental health, higher price point items, and I could definitely use some videos on my listing. But in addition to that, I really want to tackle a new marketplace. So I've only sold in the US and like a tiny little bit in Canada and Australia, but kind of gave up pretty early. So been studying up on like localization and global expansion and these different marketplaces and what they need. And it's a beast for sure. It's not easy to get into Europe. There's a lot of like VAT tax registrations and kind of loopholes. Not loopholes, but hurdles that you have to jump through. So kind of want to just tackle that. I know it's a challenge, but I think it will certainly be worth it in the long run. So I think I'll probably start with the German market, and been reading up a little bit. And I know it's not as easy as just like hiring a translator for your listings. You really got to change the way you speak to your customers when entering a new marketplace to be successful. We've learned a lot of that. There's a lot of case studies out there from companies like entering in Asian markets and European markets, and quite frankly, like quitting within a year or two. So I think that's why I've been afraid to do it in the past. But I think if we all survive 2020, then I can launch in Germany in 2021.
Nice. I think that's a really interesting topic. But I was just going to ask if anyone else was considering going into a new marketplace in the coming year, just because I think that's a really interesting idea.
I actually am. I'm looking at products right now, and I'm Canadian, so I am looking at the Canadian marketplace, just exploring that. Just there's a lot less competition.
I'm going to try to expand to Europe as well. That's been on my list of things to do, but I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I want to kind of support back home and start selling some more products in Australia. I've tested a couple of products there, but I haven't seriously kind of launched anything. So I've just been kind of waiting for that being kind of a newer marketplace, trying to tackle some real estate early on before it gets too competitive. It's still kind of like slow growing, but that's the next one that I'm thinking about personally. Alrighty, so we're going to dive into some questions in a moment. But just to remind you again that the link for the Black Friday Jungle Scout promotions are in the description below. This is one of the best deals of the year, and we're definitely jumping in there to help you guys get started. Now, a lot of people talk about getting in and getting started for the Q4 holiday.
Because obviously there's a lot of demand on Amazon at this time of the year. And people tend to think like, oh, if you've missed Q4, then you've missed the boat. However, I would actually say that now is the best time to get started if you've been thinking about doing so. The reason being is that early in the year, generally in February, is the Chinese New Year, where factories will actually shut down for a few weeks. So if you want to get your product, like find your product, order it, get those shipments into Amazon before Chinese factories get shut down for several weeks, then you really need to get started now. And to help you guys with that, we're offering these very special prices on Jungle Scout. Like you've heard from the team here, there's a vast number of tools. It very much is an all-in-one tool to help you be successful on Amazon. So again, make sure to check out the link to our Black Friday offers in the description below. So now we'll shift gears and jump
into some questions from you guys. So there's a question here from Lewis that says, can you please provide tips or
sellers usually implement for Black Friday and Cyber Monday specifically? Who would like to tackle that? Any strategy specific to Black Friday or Cyber Monday?
Time is of the essence now, right? We're very short on time, so there's not a whole lot that can be done. But definitely one of the things that I always encourage is to start increasing the budget of your PPC if you're running PPC campaigns, because that's a quick win of being able to compete with, and then especially in this time of the year where Amazon just gets so much traffic that your spend you may exhaust your budget halfway through the day, and as you can imagine, you're missing out in sales if that were to happen. So increasing your budget is always a good starting point, as well as increasing the bid on specific keywords that you really know that they've been your game changers. So I would just increase the bid on those keywords. I think the combination of that will go a long way.
Something that I would add is that Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2020 is unlike any other year. The pandemic has really created a huge boom and explosion in e-commerce traffic, forcing everybody to shop online. So I know Amazon has reported doubling its profits basically in like Q2 and Q3. And the Shopify CEO was reporting Black Friday levels of traffic throughout like April to August. So Black Friday this year, I'll be interested to see, after the fact, like how much traffic and sales does spike this week. Just because for the last few months, we've been, more consumers are shopping online than ever before. And if basically this whole year has been Black Friday levels of traffic, I think that really just doubles down on why, this is such an incredible opportunity to sell on Amazon, not just now, but in the future. I think we'll definitely see consumer behavior change and shift from offline to online, even when quarantine and all these restrictions are lifted. Amazon is set to have, I believe, like 200 million Prime members by 2021. So it's just growing. It's not stopping. And, this week for sales, lower your price, raise your ad campaigns for sure. But I wouldn't expect that traffic to drop anytime soon.
So if you are watching this now and you are just considering starting out, don't feel discouraged that you're not going to make it for this Black Friday. As Joe said, the demand and the opportunity is just growing, exponentially. So even if you miss the boat on this Black Friday and you're not already selling, there is still so much opportunity by getting in today. We're going to start seeing more and more products selling well on Amazon that we never would have, or perhaps wouldn't have seen before COVID. So yeah, I just like to echo what you're saying, Joe. Absolutely. Next question here is it better to list variations under the same ASIN or as two completely different listings? What are the advantages or drawbacks of each approach?
I like to put variations under one listing. And the reason is one variation may be more popular than the other. So if you have the variations separate, one advantage could be that you would have maybe more real estate within the search results. Let's say you're selling a blue and a red shirt. The blue color may be more popular and show up higher in search. And then if it's not a variation, no one's going to be able to find the other colors that you may have. So I always like to keep them under one variation listing. Yeah, I don't really see that's an advantage to keep them separate, definitely.
I just add to that definitely, even when it comes to PPC, that's very useful. Maybe you're targeting one particular ASIN, you know that's doing really well with PPC, and the person arrives and they decide that they don't really like the color, but you're given that they have the option of selecting a different color of that particular product. So I think that keeping it under one listing is very effective. The only time that you probably would not go that route is if it provides a poor user experience. In other words, very different products. They just, a customer arrives, they get a little confused as to, I've seen that myself. I don't know if you've experienced it where someone puts all these different products within one listing, and they're just, different design, different color, and I'm confused. So I think that to create a good user experience, that's the only time that you may want to just kind of break it out a little further.
Speaking of PPC, any videos on how to use PPC and any way to sell without paying for ads? So I'll kick this one off. We do actually have some great videos here on YouTube. We've got a PPC masterclass from Greg, which if you just search for PPC here on our YouTube channel, you will find that one. If you are a Jungle Scout member, we have a lot of in-app education called the Jungle Scout Academy. We have a whole module of videos on PPC, so that deep dives into how you can set that up. Also, if you want some even further a further deep dive into PPC, we've also got the Freedom Builder Bootcamp course, which dives a lot deeper into that one, as well as the entire process. So we do have a number of resources, whether that's free here on YouTube or paid. And then to address whether you would, ways to sell without paying for ads, you can. There are obviously ways to get sales without PPC, but in my personal opinion, you kind of need PPC to stay in the game. Because if you don't use PPC, everyone else around you will, and that gives them a competitive advantage. It just gives you more exposure. And the ultimate goal is to get your PPC profitably, so that, let's say, every $1 you spend in advertising, you get back $5. And so if you can do that, then why wouldn't you want to spend $1, $10, $100? Yeah, hopefully that helps. But in my opinion, you always want to be running PPC. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
You should definitely run PPC.
Okay.
100%.
Long story short, just run PPC. Just do it. All right, let's see what question I can find. If I find stock for a very competitive price for a product that is high demand with a lot of competition, is it an opportunity to test? So I think you're basically asking, can you sell a product that has high demand but also a lot of competition? You can. What I'd actually say here, a little plug, that you should make sure to tune into the $1 Million Case Study. In that one, I'm actually, myself and Kerry, who joins me on there as well, we're talking about this idea of selling highly competitive products. It's not generally something that we'd recommend for people starting out, because selling a very highly competitive product is very hard. It takes a lot of money to help push your product to the top of the search results. So it's a lot harder. But if you can get to that point, there are, of course, or at least you would want there to be a lot of sales on the other end. So it can be worth it if you're prepared to put in the time and the money, but it's a lot harder to get started. I'd recommend it for people that have a little bit more experience. Does anyone else have any thoughts on highly competitive products?
I have, and I will say though, it is. It's something that not something for newbies, I guess, is is probably the best way of putting it. If you do have experience and you know how to really optimize your listing and run PPC. Once again, we're right back at PPC. I'm a huge proponent of PPC because that gets you on page one from day one. So that is the most important, and of course that. Your profit margin is you have a good little buffer of profit margin because your PPC is going to eat into that to be able to out compete these competitors that have a long standing on Amazon. So it's possible. It's just it's not something for someone that's just starting out, and it's going to require a little bit more of ad spend or PPC spend. So just keep those things in mind and. We always recommend finding something that is high demand but not as much competition, and starting there.
Well, it seems like PPC is kind of like the topic of the day, as it often is. The next question is, I've found that I seem to have better sales conversions with lowering my product price really low versus using PPC and spending a lot on advertising. Is that your experience as well? Does anyone have any thoughts? Or
lowering your price can be effective, but once again, over time, what happens is you can imagine that more competitors start coming into the field, and so it's going to be a race to the bottom of lowering your price, and you're just going to constantly be lowering because the person that's launching tries to set their price just below the person that's selling the most, and then the next person. And so then you're just constantly adjusting price, and it just becomes a price war. And that's why I always take the perspective of I don't undervalue my product. In fact, I always try to price it, even if not where the most, the top competitor is at, maybe just slightly above or below their price. Not a big difference. Just so it's all about perception. The way that the customer sees a product that's priced cheap, they're going to think it's a cheap product. And so pricing kind of plays into that. If they see that you're priced with like the top competitor, they're going to be like, okay, this is a high quality product. So that's why that pricing war is not healthy. And PPC, once again, is the most effective way to really stand out.
I'll add on to that too. I would say it's not really one or the other, like pricing and PPC. I think you can definitely find a happy medium. I would never, like Rolando said, I would never want to be the lowest price product versus my competitors, and maybe not the highest either. And exactly, it's totally about perception and your conversion rate, right? So really, I think people, when they're talking about PPC, and a lot of the issues as they have is just like, oh, I'm spending all this money on PPC and I'm not getting sales. Like, yeah, maybe it's your ad campaigns, but I think you need to look at your listing first, and your listing needs to be optimized, right? So what are we talking about here? We're talking about your title, your bullet points, and really most importantly, your images. And I think those three factors will really, they do make up that customer perception related to your price and how much they're willing to spend. So if you have poor quality listing photos and bad copy, which is a lot of what the suppliers end up selling, and definitely in my experience when they're coming into a niche, they're setting really, really low prices, but have really poor customer experiences and listing optimization. And yeah, some buyers will still just opt for that and go for whatever's cheapest. But even if your product's like the exact same, you can still add a lot of perceived value by optimizing your listings, your photos, etc. And that's going to have a direct impact on your conversion rate and the success of your PPC campaigns.
In my opinion, you don't ever want your competitive advantage to be a low price. I think really you want your ultimate goal to be always trying to up your price rather than lower it. Because like Rolando said, if you're competing on price, then eventually it'll be a race to the bottom and no one has any profits at that point. And then to come back to, I agree with Joe, it's not about PPC, using PPC or using a low price, but you can actually use them in conjunction. if you do want to play with lowering your price, I would use that as kind of like a spot treatment where you do it for a short period of time, because again, you don't want that to be a long-term strategy. You don't want to force your competitors to lower their prices as well. But you might choose to use it for a few days or a week or a short period of time. And I would actually use PPC in conjunction with that, because when you use them together, you're more likely to get better conversions on your PPC because you're promoting a lower price. And you could use that to, again, for a short period of time to help increase your sales rank. But then I would always go back to your regular price.
The next question here is, do you recommend to run lightning deals on Black Friday or Cyber Monday?
Personally, I've run some lightning deals in the past, and I have not really gotten positive results from it. I mean, that's just me personally, and what might not work for me might work for you. So my best advice is to just test it out and see if it works. But lightning deals usually during these big holidays, Black Friday or Cyber Monday, are going to be more expensive to run than a normal week. So a lightning deal, I think, is $150 to run, but during Cyber Monday, it might be $300 or $400. So that's something that you're really going to have to take into account. If it's in your budget and you want to test it out, go for it. As Joe was saying before, there's going to be a huge influx of traffic during the next couple weeks. So if you think that a deal, you would benefit from a deal, then go for it. I mean, there's other options such as, setting a coupon code or something like that, where it's not nearly as expensive, but still gets the customer's attention with, the orange coupon tag on your listing.
In my experience, I've had some actual great traction from lightning deals. It helped me get an Amazon Choice badge, which was fantastic. Everyone wants that, right? But I found that the cost of the lightning deal and my PPC, I believe this was Black Friday 2018. And I think it was maybe the last lightning deal I ran. At the end of it all, I was just oh my God, this is crazy. I was selling 20 units a day. And then my lightning deal, I was moving 50 to 80 units a day. So at the end of it all, though, it depleted my stock. And then, Chinese New Year was coming up. So it took a while to get back in stock. And my profit margin was also hurt a lot from this lightning deal. Not just that $300 upfront cost, but just my ACOS and everything. I think it really hurt my margin. So what you can do, I would recommend doing it if you haven't done it before, but you are able to set an inventory limit on how many units you want to include in this lightning deal. So definitely don't do it for all of your stock. If you've got 1,000 units in inventory, maybe try it with 100 or 200. And then you can kind of gauge the success of that if you want to continue it.
On to the next question. Aside from patent issues, trademark, copyright infringement, I would like to hear from the panel, what are the common issues one should look out for when selling on Amazon?
Man, just go to the Seller Central forums and look around. You'll find plenty of common issues. But I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what platform you sell on or what job title you have, there's going to be issues, no doubt, and challenges. So I think if you just approach it like that, there's nothing too difficult that, you won't be able to tackle.
I kind of agree with that. We always try to address the most common ones that we hear about or that we experience ourselves. But probably the best advice is just to understand that no matter what, you will come across issues and challenges. And that's probably the best thing going into this, is just to accept that it happens. Because if you're not expecting it, then that's when you can get discouraged, or you might choose to give up and so on. But I think the ones that you meant there, mentioned there, such as patent issues, trademark, etc., those are probably some of the more common ones. I know some people have some issues registering for Seller Central, and I feel like the requirements from Amazon there change a little bit from time to time. I don't know, Rolando, is that something that you could speak to? Because I know that you've kind of talked to people that have had issues with getting set up.
Yeah, I would say the knowledge is power, right? And so I think a lot of issues are quickly resolved if you have the right knowledge and take the right course of action. And so what I find in working with students in Freedom Builder Bootcamp, and when they encounter a challenge, it if they just dig a little deeper, explore a little further, learn more, it's easy to overcome those challenges. And one of the things that I've always taken seriously and to heart in my life is mentorship, and so that's why I like the format of Freedom Builder Bootcamp, in that you have like monthly live coaching sessions, and any of those challenges that may come up, we've been there, we've done that. And so we have the answers, 99.9% of the time. That 0.1% is usually having to deal with Seller Central and having them help you out. We know how that can be, but definitely this isn't like our first rodeo, and this isn't. And so that's what I was saying. Being able to access. We have so many tools and content for free. A lot of times a problem can be quickly solved by just a simple Google search. And of course, most of the times we appear, our blog posts or a video, YouTube video will appear. And I think that's just my take on that, is that knowledge is power, and definitely being able to, know where to tap into to be able to solve those problems.
Totally agree. Always be learning, always be building the skill of finding, like being scrappy and finding the information you need. Because there's always going to be like unique problems that happen to you that may not be super common,
but just having the ability to like figure it out, Google it, and so on. So totally agree with you there, Rolando. All right, we're going to take a couple more questions before we wrap it up today. So this one is, do you guys all source in China? I know that personally, all my products I've always sourced from China, but I'm curious to hear is there anyone here that doesn't source from China?
What I was going to mention before, one of my goals for 2021 is to look for other sources outside of China. And that's something that I've been doing lately as well. I have a couple sources from within the US that just makes the shipping and all that so much easier. Sometimes it could be a hassle to have to ship from China. The per unit cost may be a little more expensive, but for me, it's less of a headache, and it just works better for my business. So that's something that I'm going to try to expand on in the upcoming year. Especially with the model that I follow as well, with selling wholesale. If I could find brands and distributors within the U.S., it's a lot easier on me.
I'm all China, but I do have friends and colleagues, and met quite a few people that have sourced from Vietnam. I know Vietnam's really booming in terms of production and outsourcing, as well as like Indonesia and some Central American companies as well. I know a jungle scouter that sells on Amazon sourced her sandals from, I want to say like Costa Rica or Brazil. So yeah, you can definitely find a lot of great suppliers and manufacturers outside of China, but they're definitely the beast in the room, and certainly the most competitive on price, and probably easiest to find as well.
Yeah, China has just developed such a robust way of like just, from taking it from factory to port, and so they've just mastered it. And that's why I think by default, most sellers turn to China, just because it's readily available you can tap into sellers or suppliers there fairly easily, and get hit the ground running. But it doesn't hurt to explore other avenues, other options. Our supplier tool can provide us help and assistance in locating other countries that may be able to supply your product. But China's just got that the infrastructure down to be able to really get your product to market on a much faster timeline.
Yeah, I'll add one more thing. When you're sourcing on Alibaba, they do also have a filter where you can choose different countries besides China. So when you search your product in the search bar on the left-hand side, you'll see all the countries that specific product may be available in, whether it's the US, Vietnam, and whatever. So that's just another tip that you can look for when you're doing some product research.
All right. So last question of the day. In the 3+ month process that it takes to source a product, ship it, is it common for the niche of your product to get oversaturated and competition to move in and the price of your product to decrease?
I've had that experience, but not in the 3 months it takes to get my product into an Amazon warehouse. The product I showed earlier, my first product, those AirPod cases, over the course of like 12 to 16 months, it did become extremely saturated because I think it was just a very, very easy, simple product to source. They cost about 70 cents a unit landed. So over the course of a year, we saw the niche get oversaturated, and it was a race to the bottom. In Rolando's words, on price for sure, which just shot margin. So I no longer sell that product. But yeah, I would definitely say in the 3 months, it is you'll probably have one or two, like maybe a couple competitors enter the market while you're ramping up. But I wouldn't say it's by any means common for it to become completely oversaturated, at least in those 3 months. I think if you can get your product in, then you should be set. But I wouldn't worry too much about that at all.
When you're thinking of a product to sell, you do need to be thinking about how can you differentiate yourself from the competition. And I think as long as you do that, you should be doing that anyway, then you're going to be able to be more resilient if more competition does come into your niche. And I think speed is also very important as well. If you see an opportunity, it's a good opportunity now. Make a decision, like verify the numbers first. Once you've done that research, you've verified that it's a good opportunity, don't wait, jump onto it and get moving, because opportunities, particularly on Amazon, that's one thing that I've noticed is that it's very fast paced. So yeah, again, if you see an opportunity, you need to act on it quickly. If you sit around and wait too long, it will no longer be an opportunity. And the people that are the speediest and get in are the ones that are going to start collecting reviews first and become more defensible against other people entering the market.
I just say drop in the comments, vote for the person that you feel is the one that won the ugly sweater contest. We're trying to, make this lighthearted and fun for the holiday season, getting ready for the holiday season. So drop in the comments if you want to vote. I guess we could each say our names. We'll go around and we'll say our names, and just put the name in the comment, and we'll see who wins. So Rolando, vote for me. It's like American Idol, vote for me.
I'll go. Well, before everyone said, I had to wear Christmas pants because I didn't have a sweater. So I have my elf jammies on in my elf background. It's very on brand.
I couldn't find a sweater, so you don't have to vote for me.
I love Carly's little cowl. That collar is pretty hideous, so she gets my vote. But I'm over here with it's a Game of Thrones Santa Claus. He's on his iron throne of candy canes.
Oh, that is pretty cool. I have to say, like, Amazon pulled through for me. I ordered, this is like my first sweater in the US, and this arrived like 20 minutes before this stream started. So thanks Amazon. I think you guys should vote for me because I, had to represent Australia. So I like this one. So yeah, let us know in the comments who you think wins or who has the best ugly sweater. Make sure to check out the link in the description again for Jungle Scout's Black Friday deals. They're not going to last long, so make sure to jump in and take advantage of that one if you're looking to get started very soon. And again, if you're looking to get started in the new year, you've decided, like, that's my New Year's resolution. I want to build a business,
build a system that can generate income for me, whether it's just a little bit on the side or whether you want to fully replace your full-time income or whatever the reason is for you, and you decided 2021 is the year. 2020 maybe we'll rule out, but 2021 is the year for me. Then make sure to act fast, like I said before, and the best way to get started is by using Jungle Scout's all-in-one tools. So again, check that one out in the description below. And with that, we'll wrap it up. Or Rolando, are we going to check the comments now? Well, I can see a few comments here nominating the kangaroo for ugliest sweater. That's about as true blue as you can get, the old kangaroo. So thanks for that, guys.
And Kangaroo's king. So we we have our winner in Lenny.
Yes, so happy about that. Thanks for the votes, guys. And also another little plug, tune in every Monday to the $1 Million Case Study. I'll be returning to that one and going through the journey of publicly launching a product on Amazon and sharing all the steps along the way. So make sure, take advantage of our Black Friday deal today, and then join me in the $1 Million Case Study each week and follow along as I share the steps of how to launch your own product on Amazon. And get to see me do it as well. So thank you so much for joining today. Thanks everyone on the panel today for joining. Hope you guys got some value. Make sure to give us a like below if you got some value from this. But thanks again for watching. Take care. All the best with your businesses, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.